Hi there. My name is Joni, and I am the director of the Protect Your Sister project. So I wish I were there right now to meet all of you soon-to-be new mothers. But because I can't be there, I'm making a video to talk to you about why it's so important for you to come back to the hospital to deliver. So I wish I could say hello in person, but in any case, today I want to talk to you about some of the complications that can happen if you don't go back to the hospital to deliver. It's very important. And one of the things that can happen to you is a childbirth injury that's called obstetric fistula. And it's a very terrible complication. But I'm going to try and explain today how that happens and how you can prevent it. And the first message that you need to understand, and I know that that your nurses and doctors are telling you that the important thing to do is to come back to the hospital when it's time to deliver. Make a plan about how you're going to get there, and then come back to the hospital. You know you're supposed to do it. So, anyway, here's a baby, and these are simple tools to show you some of the problems that can happen. Okay, one of them is called obstructed labor, and that's when the baby can't get out of you. Now, one of the more serious kinds of obstructed labor is when the head of the baby, this baby's head, is bigger than the opening in your pelvis. So this funny little bowl, it's like a bowl, is to represent your pelvis. And if you reach down and you feel your hips, feel those bones of your hips, that's right here, okay? And this is the back of your tailbone, and this is the front of your pelvis. Okay, so the baby is growing inside the pelvis. But sometimes the baby's too big to get out, and that's a really dangerous problem. And when the baby's too big to get out, see, it doesn't matter what you do. You can push and push and push and push, but that baby's not coming out. And because the bones of your pelvis, the opening, this opening, is too small to get this baby's head through it. Okay, so when that happens, it can be very serious, and it doesn't matter how hard you try, that baby won't come out. And it doesn't matter what people do. In fact, sometimes traditional birth attendants will do very dangerous things to women to try and get that baby out, but the baby's not coming out unless they go to a hospital and the doctor takes it out from the top, which is called a C-section. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to show you what can happen. So the baby doesn't just live inside your bones like that. The baby lives inside a bag, and that bag has a fancy medical name, of course. It's called the uterus, okay? And that's where the baby has grown inside of you. And that bag, that uterus, feeds the baby and makes it strong and grow healthy, okay? And the uterus is in the middle, and then in front of the uterus, we have another bag. It's got another name. It's called the bladder. That's what holds your urine, your pee. All this, we have to talk about all these things that are not usually talked about very much, at least around here. But we got to talk about them because they're important. So the bag that holds your pee is in front. You know that. And then in the back, there's another kind of bag. That's called your rectum. And that's where your poop is, right? We all know about that too. So anyway, so that's in the back. So what happens, I hope you can see this all right. So you got the baby in the middle in the uterus, you got your bladder in the front, the baby in the middle, and the rectum in the back. Okay, so the uterus says it's time for this baby to be delivered. And all it knows is it says out. So suddenly the uterus starts contracting and the baby starts trying to get out. And you're pushing and you're pushing and you're pushing. But that baby's not going to come out. We already know that. So you can push and push and push and try and try and try, but that baby's not coming out. And what happens is you will stay in labor until that baby comes out, but that baby's not coming out normally. So ultimately, if you don't die, which we don't want, if you don't die, more than likely your baby is going to die. And that's a horrible thing that doesn't need to happen. And after that, you'll be very injured. So what happens is the baby, you're in labor for up to a week, during which time, the pain is horrible, and the baby is going to die. And so after the baby dies, the baby will stay inside of you for a while until it softens. And that's not something we like to think about because you want a healthy baby. But the baby will die and soften, and you're still pushing and pushing and pushing, and finally the baby will be delivered but dead. Okay, we don't want that. But in the front, where you've been pushing and pushing and pushing, this tissue gets crushed, or in the back, this tissue gets crushed. So I'm going to take the baby out now, and what happens is where that baby was pounding its head against your bones of your pelvis, the tissue in your bladder gets injured. And so you can develop a hole. So you've been in labor for a week of terrible, terrible pain, and then you deliver your dead baby, and then in about 2 days, you wake up and you're wet. Your bed is soaked, or even worse, it's soiled. And so what has happened is that where the baby was pushing, there's a crush injury, and it forms a hole, or what we call a fistula. And the whole thing is called obstetric fistula, which just means a hole that came because of a bad delivery. Okay? And that hole can be where the baby's head was in your birth canal. Okay? Urine will come out. Okay? And if the pressure was in the front, then you'll leak urine and you'll be wet and you can't control it. And if the pressure was in the back against your rectum, then, I don't know if you can see this, but then poop will come out. And that's awful too. And you can't control it because you don't have those muscles in your birth canal. And so then you're incontinent, and there are lots of other injuries too. It's a very, very serious problem. And that's why when your doctors and your nurses say you've got to come back for delivery at the hospital, that's one of the possibilities. There are other possibilities of complications, things that can go wrong, but that's a really serious one, and it can cause a lifetime of injuries that didn't have to happen if you just come back to the hospital. So I'm sure that you will have a sample of these, because I've sent them to you, so that you can look at this and examine it and understand it. But also, you should have one of these ladies. Okay, so this is also a simplified version of your body. And I have for the older mamas. We have older mamas, we have young mamas, and sometimes we have little girl mamas, and we don't like that much either because they're really at risk. But, so we look under their skirt, And don't usually do this, but we're all girls here, so we can talk about it. And here's a pregnant mama, right? And the baby can't get out the normal way. So the doctor, oops, hold on. The doctor's going to have to open up the mama and take the baby out. And here's a little baby, okay? And so the baby can't get out the normal way, which is this way, you know that. So the doctor has to open up the mama and take the baby out of her tummy, okay? Then the doctor can sew the mama back up, and I used a little. The mama can sew up and heal. And then the next time the mama gets pregnant, she's got to come back to the doctor so he can make sure that she's safe. Okay, so you'll have one of these to look at too. But I want you to understand that that's the way to save your baby, is to go to the doctor so that in case your pelvis isn't big enough to deliver the baby, that you can have the doctor help you with that particular kind of surgery. So anyway, I hope that this has helped. I hope you'll come back to the hospital. Now you know that you got to listen to these, your nurse and your doctor, because they want you to do what's right for you so that you're healthy and that you have a healthy baby when you're all done. Okay? So thank you for listening, and I wish you all the best with your new family. And yeah, so you be well, take care, and come back to the hospital when it's time to deliver. Okay, bye.